As a story, Trapped by the Internet was quite interesting. As a documentary, it was so poorly edited that it was quite a chore to get through it. Now, I was emotionally invested enough that I wanted to know what happened, so I stuck with it, but it has put me off watching anything by anybody associated with this again. Not that I would never watch anything like this again, but I'm not champing to watch the rest of the Real Stories series. Trapped by the Internet tells the story of one particular individual called Elodie Morel, and she set up an online profile because she wanted to be a model, and she had this callback for, I believe, a Rolls Royce campaign. At least that's what she thought it was. And she went along to meet this individual and went missing. And her husband obviously reported her missing, and the crime case was opened. Now, that all sounds interesting and very predictable with regards to, this kind of thing does happen. We expect people to lure in models with the promise of a lustrous career, and then, it's deceit and lies and dangerous. And credit where credit is due, this documentary is eye-opening with that. If somebody watches this, I'm going to assume that they're going to be made more aware that this kind of thing does happen. And that aspect of it was interesting. Unfortunately, the rest of it was so hard to follow, and kind of spoiler as well. No, well, I'm not going to spoil anything specific, but I will have to spoil one thing to explain why it was ruined for me. So I'm sorry that I'm going to ruin it for you as well, but quite frankly, I don't recommend this unless you are particularly interested in this kind of true crime story. But I will say it's got nothing to do with the fact that a lot of the interviews were in French. There is English dubbing over the French interviewees, and that's easy to follow. It's not jarring. It's easy to keep up with what people are saying, or at least when they're saying it. But we're basically told at the beginning that this individual phoned the police and said, somebody I know has just told me they're going to go and pick up this woman and hurt her. And we're not really told at all who this person is, how they know the other person, or the fact that this individual was actually a police confidant. We do find out eventually that he owns a club, and in return for the police protecting his club and making sure everything's okay, he provides the police with information that he finds out from customers, patrons, etc. And makes sense once it's actually explained, but I spent about 30 minutes of this 50-something minute episode thinking, well, what is your relevance? And particularly annoying as well that he refused to give the police the name of this person who was about to commit this crime. I'm pretty sure that in the UK, that's withholding information, and that is actually an offence in itself. I don't know if that's the same in France, but that annoyed me quite a lot. And then it was alright. It became a little easy to follow after the first kind of 5-10 minutes. I realised the police are looking for this particular car. There's a chance that they're going to miss this car. They may not be able to find out what's going on. And then I thought, okay, I want to find out what's going on, so I'm assuming they're going to have some kind of tip-off. And that's when the husband goes into the police station to report her missing. At that point, once the husband comes into play, it begins to make a modicum of sense. And thereafter, everything makes sense. It is easy to follow after this. So we're talking about after 15 minutes or so, it begins to become easier to follow and easy to work out what leads the police are following, why they're following certain things, and how they got from A to B. But I will say, and this is a spoiler, but as I said, I don't recommend this, it's talking about how she's disappeared, and her husband was saying how she was quite strong-willed, and then all of a sudden it edits in a clip of what I believe to have been a police report saying how she fought her attacker back, and how, she didn't just take it lying down, if you like. And I'm thinking, how can you have a police report edited into this bit of the documentary when you haven't actually found her yet? You need to keep this linear to keep building suspense. You've basically just told us 15 or so minutes in that actually you do find her. There is evidence that she was attacked. There is evidence that she fought back. You're giving away too much information. You can't tell us about the police report after she's been found while you're still hunting down a missing person. So it was very, very poorly edited in that way, and it kind of ruined a lot of the watching experience, because while I was intrigued as to know what happened, as soon as that was revealed, I kind of thought, well, it's obviously an open and shut case. We know what happened, and obviously I continued watching it, and all of that was correct. So it's not really enjoyable to watch after that point. The first 15 minutes, as I said, are all over the place. The editing with regards to who this person is and why this person, or why the police are listening to this person, is not explained well. And then after about 15 minutes, the husband character comes in. It begins to make more sense. We find out who the original informant was, or what his relevance is to this case. We begin to get answers to questions, but unfortunately we get too many answers too soon, and they completely spoil the dramatic aspect of it. And obviously this is a real-life incident. It's not, well, it's supposed to be entertaining because it's television, but obviously they're not, writing a nail-biting thriller, but you are still supposed to make it watchable, and it was not. So unfortunately, Trapped by the Internet was quite shocking, quite shockingly poor. In terms of the subject matter, it was interesting. In terms of the narrative style, it was abysmal. The actual French to English dubbing didn't have any issues with that. Some of the actual camera work was pretty decent, but the editing of segments and the narrative structure, amateur, genuinely amateur. And really, it's really rare that I will give a negative review about a true crime series or a documentary, because I love true crime and I can usually find something in it that I found to be educational or informative or enlightening or interesting. Really, really is not the case here.